Okay, this is a tutorial for how to do the Art Nouveau practice portrait. So it's going to look something like this when you are all done. So Art Nouveau, you can go through this slideshow if you'd like and just see some more information. But Art Nouveau is very intricate, lots of long flowing lines similar to what we find in nature with plants and flowers. Super detailed, not hyper realistic, but you can tell that it's a human and it's recognizable things. Mixture of symmetrical and asymmetrical as well. So we're going to get started on our practice. Now on Google Classroom, I have all the options on here. You can choose to use these for time's sake, or you can look up your own as we go. It's totally up to you. But for time, I'm just going to use the ones that I have. So on Photopea, you should have that little kaleidoscope just off to the side. There is a separate video on how to do that if you do not know how, so you can watch that at another time. Go ahead and do File New. And we're going to do inches, so change the DPI first to 200, switch it to inches, and we're going to do either 7 by 4 or 4 by 7, and then you can name it practice. So whichever one dimension-wise, that's fine. So I have it skinny, kind of long and skinny, similar to these portraits that we see in Art Nouveau. So long, and usually there's some text in there as well with all of the details and things like that. So first thing I'm going to have you do is go ahead and change the background color to sort of a dark color. So I went with blues and then more of a muted blue, just because that is the color scheme of a lot of Art Nouveau, kind of muted colors, nothing super bright. So I have this background color, and then we're going to go ahead and add a pattern texture on top of this. So on Google Classroom, I have this little pattern here. So it looks like beams. You can go ahead and save that and then drag that onto your canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this on here, or copy and paste it, and you can see that it doesn't fit the canvas, so we're going to go ahead and stretch it out. If I just try to make it bigger, it keeps it in the same, like it's the same ratio. So in order to stretch this, go ahead and hold down Shift on your keyboard and stretch it till it fits the canvas. We don't usually do this, but for this project we will. So we have a nice just kind of filler background. Go ahead and rasterize this layer, and then we're going to lower the opacity so we can see that original color that we picked through our textured background. This is just a nice filler, and then we're going to have a lot of layers on top of it. So that was our first step. The next step, we are going to add a frame. So on here, I have a frame that you can use, or you can go to freesvg.org and find your own, but for sake of time, I am just going to use the frame that I have on there. So file open in place, or just drag it onto your board. I am going to, again, I'll make this bigger, but then I'm going to hold down Shift and stretch it to fit the canvas. So sort of distorting it in a way. Okay, so usually Art Nouveau has the frames around it. Right now this frame is just white. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to match more of the color scheme of Art Nouveau. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and then Hue Saturation, boost the saturation quite a bit. And then I'm going to change the hue to more of that yellowish gold color that is oftentimes seen. So I have my frame now, and then next we are going to copy that kaleidoscope that we have over here that we made earlier. Go ahead and copy that over, Command or Control C, and then Command or Control V, place it in there. Mine is massive compared to my 4 by 7 picture that I have. So if I move this over here, you can see it's really huge. So I'm going to slowly just make that smaller. And I am going to kind of place it in the center, the point of this, and I'm going to turn it around because I don't like these flat pieces. We don't want anything to look chopped off, so I want my flat pieces to go on the side here. So that looks a little bit better. The point of this mandala looking frame is we are eventually going to have an animal portrait in here. So all of these line details are kind of bringing the viewer's eye to the center. So it's sort of like a halo, creating emphasis around that. I'm going to put mine behind my frame. Okay, and you don't have, if you want it in front, you can. And then I'm gonna go ahead and lower the opacity on this as well. So again, Art Nouveau is a little more muted. Okay, so got the mandala looking thing on there. Try to center that, there we go. And then the next thing, we are going to open and place our animal. So I have two animals. I've got a sheep and a fox. You choose. The reason I would use these just for the practice is because there is a transparent background. Sometimes it's tricky to find a picture like that with a transparent background without having to do it yourself. So I'm just going to click and drag. I'm going to do the fox and go ahead and make it a little bit bigger, and we want to place the head sort of in the middle to where that mandala and everything else is leading your eye to. So we got our fox right there, center of attention. I have my fox behind the frame but in front of that mandala, obviously. Okay, now we are going to add some flourishes. So looking at some of these examples, there's a lot of flowing lines and things like that, flowing lines, and we can create a lot of overlap. And you can see from these examples, some of the flourishes are in front of the animal, some of them are behind. So we're going to go ahead and save. We got flourish 1 and flourish 2. Save both of them, and I'm going to show you what we can do with flourish 1. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag flourish 1 on here, flourish 1, and I'm going to put that behind the fox. And it sort of creates more of a halo, again, kind of emphasizing the main subject, which is our fox. Now, I got this off freesvg.org, and what you can do most of the time, I'm going to rasterize this, most of the time, if it's a solid color, you can use the paint bucket, and I'm going to use a nice bright color, or maybe like more of a goldish. Yeah, we'll go more gold, like that. You can usually take the paint bucket and click on an area and it will color it in. So I could go through and color all these, but I kind of like the detail, the mixture of the black and gold. So I might leave it like that, but you can usually change the color of an SVG file like that. So I'm going to keep it like that. And then I have Flourish 2. And that looks like that. Okay, so quick thing, just something that you can learn. If you have a project with a lot of layers like this, sometimes when you're using the move tool, like you're trying to grab, say you're trying to grab this flourish, but you accidentally grab, the background, I hate that. What you can do is turn off auto select, so then you can physically and manually change the layer and it won't grab something else that you don't want if it's hard to kind of grab. So that's kind of nice. You can change that up there again with the move tool. Make sure auto select is on or off. Okay, so I'm going to do one flourish here. Actually, I'm going to rotate this so that hard edge is not showing. So we got a flourish here. I could also color this in with the paint bucket, how I showed you earlier. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. So Control J. Duplicate that flourish, and instead I'm going to have that flourish in front of the fox. I'm going to rotate it, change the size, just so it looks a little bit different, but it's the same thing. And we want to just create some nice dimension. So a lot of layering, a lot of just toggling, and then maybe I do it one more time. So I'll do it one more time. And you can do, I would like you to do at least 2 copies of it. And you can also do edit transform and flip it that way. So you can flip it vertically or whatever. Okay, actually I don't want that. I'm just gonna do 2. Okay, so now we have our little flourishes. We got a little halo behind it, just adding a lot of depth. Now we're going to add a word. So a lot of times in Art Nouveau, there is a word. So if I show you these, some text on there, a lot of times it's a different language, but we're just going to type in, I'm going to do Fox Nouveau. So go ahead and switch to the text tool and go ahead and click, and mine's huge right now, so I'm going to lower this a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type out Fox. Let's see. Fox Nouveau. Hold on, I'm having trouble here. So click and drag. Fox. And then I am going to change the font. And I think I gotta highlight that first. And then go ahead and choose a font that is similar to what you see on the Art Nouveau style. That's not my favorite, but just for the sake of time, I will do that. My Nouveau is not showing, but I'll just keep it like this. And then what you can do, go ahead and switch back to the text tool, make sure you're on the text layer, click warp. And then we're going to warp this so where it says style none, change it to arc or whatever you want. I usually don't branch out from arc. And sort of mess with that. And I'm going to have it sort of follow the curve of that, oval that we got here. Okay, so that is kind of the basic way of layering and creating something that is Art Nouveau style. What I wanted to show you, this was one that I did before. So just a horse here. And what I did to fill some of this open space is I added some flowers. I just found them on freesvg.org. So looking at my design here, there's a lot of open white space. So I would find maybe a stamp or something more flourishy like this and maybe go through and add some more details just to push that idea. Once you're done, you can turn this into the Art Nouveau practice.